In the last episode, we spoke of nickel, the new kid on the block, which is crucial for the making of EV batteries. But let's not forget the current reigning monarch, copper. And copper comes from the Copperbelt. Traditionally, the Copperbelt, which is known for its hard work ethic, its deep sense of specialization, and of course, loud, boisterous music. And there's a seismic shift happening because copper, or the making of it rather, is moving from this boisterous place on the Copperbelt to the more polite, elegant, enchanting part in northwestern province, which belongs to the Kaonde people. You all agree with me, right? The Kaonde language is elegant. It's elaborate, but elegant. I mean, listen to this. Mwane, mwane. Mwaikala tu yepi. Twaikala ulongo. Mwane. I mean, there's just something to this greeting that sounds inviting and rich, like the copper beneath its soil. And in this cultural backdrop, it is where the First Quantum Mineral is investing its $1.25 billion in the Kansanshi S3 mine expansion. Now, I already told you in the previous episode that FQM has been around for decades in Zambia, 2 decades to be exact. Please don't forget that, because besides the fact that it has been around for over 2 decades, it is also Zambia's biggest taxpayer. And of course, also the owner of Zambia's biggest smelter, the Kansanshi smelter, which processes copper concentrate locally, which of course is great because the more we're able to do locally, the more jobs we create, the higher the value of the product, and essentially the more GDP that will come in to this country. We just spoke about the micro level, using economic jargon here. We spoke about this project on a micro level, which is the GDP. But let's take it wider. Let's look at it on a macro level. You see, there is a massive deficit in copper production or copper supply currently in the world. And this is projected to reach between 4 and 10 million tons by 2035. And this is where Zambia's national ambition comes in strong, because President Hichilema has set an aggressive national target to increase Zambia's annual copper production from its current 850,000 tons to 3 million tons by the year 2030. This means that we're already in 2026, which means that in 4 years' time, that is supposed to increase to 3 million tons per year. Now, for context, Chile is the world's biggest copper producer, and it currently produces 5.5 million tons per year. So, by 2030, if these figures maintain the same, Zambia will be firmly placed in the top 3 copper producers in the world, which is insane. Now, Kansanshi is already one of the largest copper mines globally. It currently produces over 250,000 tons of copper per year. And with this S3 expansion, it will ensure that Zambia maintains its position as a top 10 global copper producer. And the S3 project will specifically increase copper processing capacity by 25%. But that's not it alone. It will also extend the life of the mine itself by 20 years, which will, of course, provide stability and predictability to global buyers. I can hear what some of you are thinking or saying or wanting to type right now, fingertips at the ready at the keyboard, and you want to tell me, Kiwinda. Yes, it's all well and good that FQM wants to invest all this money in nickel and copper, but that's FQM. It's not the Zambian government. And yes, you're absolutely right. That is true. It is their money that they're sinking into these projects. But it couldn't be done without the help of the UPND government stabilizing the economy and providing an environment that is welcoming to investors, even though these investors have been here for many, many years, 2 decades we just mentioned. The fact remains that in the previous government, before UPND, there was a hostile environment that was created where mining companies were actually leaving Zambia in spite of the mining prospects that were here on the ground. So by coming in and producing more stable and a more friendly environment towards the mines, FQM decided, this is good, we're now going to sink another 1.25 billion US dollars into our Zambian mining projects. And what does this mean? It creates guaranteed revenue streams and stable policy signals. This commitment is possible once again because the Zambian government has successfully stabilized the fiscal environment by restructuring its debt, but also by creating a healthy environment with the policies that they've put in place to make investors feel comfortable and say, let's sink our money into Zambia because something will come out of it. As for the demand for Zambian copper cathodes, look at how it is today. It is no secret that the copper cathodes are in such high demand, coming from Zambia specifically, that they're already bought on forwarding contracts. So before these cathodes are even brought out of the earth, they've already been purchased, which amplifies the need for stable mines such as the Kansanshi mines to expand by 1.25 billion so that more of these customers can be helped and serviced by these mines. This $1.25 billion investment funds a new 30 million ton per annum concentrator and, of course, associated upgrades as well. More importantly, the new volume is vital to maintaining feed for the existing Kansanshi smelter. This enforces the national goal to stop exporting raw concentrate and instead produce higher value copper cathodes locally in Zambia. And more importantly, this massive expansion demands guaranteed electricity. This scale of operation provides the economic leverage needed for the government to prioritize secure power projects such as the Maamba 300 megawatt expansion, which we will cover later, and also the Masdar 2 gigawatts solar deal, which we will also discuss at a later stage. And this will ensure that the mine won't suffer drought-related load shedding, the power that is currently being produced by Kariba, for example. The 25,000 to 30,000 tons per year increase demands better export routes as well. So what does this mean? Of course, we're referring to the Lobito Corridor. It not only puts pressure on the government to create or to come up with projects to expand the power or to address the power deficit. No, logistics-wise, it also puts pressure on government to make sure that there are routes that we can use to take out these cathodes or copper concentrates at a faster and more efficient manner. So the Lobito Corridor is of incremental importance in making sure that we are able to move the country forward from every facet and every position that we must tackle. And of course, the Lobito Corridor is a topic that we will also discuss at a later stage. For this is going to bring West Coast exports to the country. And of course, we're also going to talk about the Tazara revitalization project, which is for the north-south movement, which will reduce dependency on high-cost road transport. Not only that, it will also make sure that we will remain neutral, because if there is any, for lack of better terms, Zambian word to be used here is, if there's any kafwafwa that will be with either China or the US, we can adjust our routes accordingly and make sure that no matter what, our concentrates will be exported and will be met by the right people for the right price. From a policy perspective, this is where it gets interesting, because FQM is required to commit significant spend to Zambian-owned SMEs, Zambian small medium enterprises. So this will see that hundreds of millions of dollars will flow to local businesses supplying services, machinery, and consumables, driving industrial growth outside of the mining lease area. Question for you. If you're a Zambian business owner, does this $1.25 billion investment create the growth in demand for your product, or will you still rely on government tenders? I look forward to hearing from you in the comments below. There are some risks involved in this, like with anything else. Copper price volatility could be an issue. Of course, currently copper is in hot demand because of how it does certain things very well with regards to its input in EV batteries, for example. But there could be a mineral found that could do a better job, and this would affect the copper price. Then there's also the issue of resource nationalism. We've noticed, and this is not a bad thing, but we've seen that this government focuses a lot on policy stability, and how an investor would react to this, of course, is anybody's guess. Then there are some governance and ESG risks. We're facing a major challenge currently in Zambia with regards to illegal mining. The military has had to step in to clear certain artisanal miners from illegal mining fields because the government is strictly cracking down in its efforts to formalize the small-scale sector. And then there was that disaster with the Sino mine, tailings dam catastrophe on the Copperbelt. This saw the dam break and contaminate the very crucial lifeline of Zambia, and that being the Kafue River. Now, the government had an immediate response to this with its intervention and cleanup initiatives and implementation of stricter environmental compliance measures, especially around tailings dam safety protocols to prevent future environmental disasters and restore investor confidence in regulatory oversight. But the big takeaway is this. This expansion secures Zambia's copper leadership for the next 2 decades, which is now backed by stronger environmental compliance guarantees. For decades, the Copperbelt has been loud, proud, and present in Zambia's economy. But as the king of copper shifts west, it seems the Kaonde people of northwestern province, known for their elaborate and respectful greeting rituals, are not conquering the copper kingdom. They are simply and politely inheriting it. Kansanshi secures the present, but what about the future of discovery? Next week we break down the KoBold Metals, the Maamba project, which is backed by Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos. It's a completely new kind of exploration using AI and satellite data, and it could hold the key to the next mega copper deposit. Stay tuned.